Hello to anybody watching. It is Wednesday, June 17th, 2026. The market is moving faster than ever, so I'm going to try to move quick today. There was a lot that went on, but it's nothing too crazy, so it's easy to talk about. So, today we had the Fed rate decision and FOMC meeting. Kevin Warsh had his first little speech today and answered questions for the first time, and there were a few key takeaways from it. The first would be that there were no rate changes today, but also there were no rate cuts signaled for the future. This definitely scared markets a bit because this is kind of what we were hoping for. We knew that rate cuts weren't coming in today, but what we were kind of questioning is with inflation where it's at, were they still optimistic about cutting rates in the future? And they were not. So that wasn't too good. The market did not take that too well. The next little highlight that we had is that he's really shaking things up at the Fed. This article says it best. He's really moving stuff around. He made these 5 new task forces that are going to do different things to, achieve their goals. And the whole statement that they released was totally different. A lot was different. The start of his speech where he read out the pre-written statement, that was all different. It was just a totally different vibe than what we were used to with Jerome Powell. So that probably shook up the market too. The market does not like uncertainty. And, with how he was kind of approaching it, we weren't used to that, so we were uncertain where it was going to go. So that's another reason the market could have sold off. And then the last one was just tough on inflation. So we kind of knew this was coming. He was kind of known for being really tough on inflation and really committed to getting it to where they want it to be before thinking about rate cuts. And today kind of solidified that. So that's another reason that the market did not take this whole rate decision and speech too well. As you can see, the S&P 500 absolutely tanked after the rate decision and pre-written statement came out, and then it went up a little bit. But as his speech and questions went on, it sold off pretty bad. We got more than a 1% drop in the span of an hour, so it was pretty rough. It ended the day down 1.25%, so that's pretty legitimate. The Nasdaq did also not have a good day. It was, initially green and then it went down with the SPY, with the pre-written statements and all that. And once the questions started rolling in and the Kevin Warsh speech started, it was looking green again, but after they kind of solidified no rate cuts soon, it tanked. We had a $15 drop in the span of an hour, so it was pretty legitimate, and it also closed down 1%. So that was all bad, and it was looking really bad. You can see on the daily chart here, this is still the Nasdaq that we're looking at, but you can see that this daily candle did look scary. Now, the good thing is we closed this, gap up that we had. So that was right at 724 and it came down to 722.50. So it filled that gap, which, for the technical traders out there, they might have been scared to take some long positions with that gap sitting there. Now it's filled, so that's pretty bullish. But these daily candles were not looking good, just straight weakness. The daily candle on the SPY looked even worse. It came in and filled that gap at 744.50, the one we were looking at yesterday, but it went even further and it went down to 739.50, just about. Even lower actually now that I'm looking at it. 739.20. So, you didn't really get an end of the day pump either. It didn't really reclaim any levels to make this candle a little stronger looking because, a red candle is never good, but it can look strong if it kind of shows some type of momentum reversal, but we did not see that. No need to fear though, because Mr. Trump is here. He did an electronic signature with an agreement for Iran. The actual one's going to be signed this Friday, but he put his electronic signature in there, so that really gave markets a boost so far overnight. We got the S&P 500 up 0.63% as I speak, which is just about half of what it lost today, so that's pretty impressive. On the Nasdaq side of things, the Nasdaq is up 1.32% overnight, and it closed the day down 1.01%, so it is green. It captured all of today's loss, and it's back to being green, so it's looking pretty bullish already. It's just crazy how fast it moves, Literally 5 hours ago, 6 hours ago, the market was closing and we were like, oh my goodness. Rate hikes are coming in, rate cuts are not gonna happen, this is scary. But now, with a little signature being signed, the market's pumped right back up, and it's looking all okay again. So we'll ultimately see tomorrow morning where we are. Who knows if we're gonna be up this high still, or we might be higher, we might be lower. Nobody knows, so we'll find out when we get there. But I'm gonna give you 3 stocks to look at tomorrow. some bullish, some bearish. Let's get into that. The first one's going to be Nvidia. I talked about this one yesterday. I'm going to talk about it again. Sue me. I like Nvidia. If the market continues bullish tomorrow and kind of brushes off the whole problems that we had today, Nvidia might run higher. It's still down pretty decently from its all-time highs. You can see here it's kind of dipped, and although the chart doesn't look the prettiest right now, all it takes is a solid green candle to get it right back in the game to go up to new highs. So I wouldn't be scared of putting some money in Nvidia. Worst case, you get stopped out with a little bit of a loss, and if you want to hold it till you're green, you're in Nvidia, so you can do that. So I wouldn't be too scared to put some money in Nvidia if the market is looking strong tomorrow. The next stock is going to be SpaceX, and this one's more bearish because I'll be honest with you, I don't like this thing. I don't like this thing at all. It went up for the first 3 days that it traded. It went up and hit $225, which gave it a bigger market cap than a lot of companies, even some that are in the Mag 7. I don't know what place it landed in when it was at 225 for companies by market cap, but I'm pretty sure it overtook Amazon and Meta, which is just crazy because SpaceX, the future is bright for SpaceX. I'm sure it's going to be really cool in the future, but keyword in the future. This stuff should not be priced in now, and the market can be irrational. Can it go up tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day? Sure, but right now, I don't know. I think it's susceptible to a little bit of a sell-off just from fear. A lot of people got caught up at these highs. Even some people got in at this initial IPO and they're still green, but as they see it come down and they see comments about hey, this might be overvalued right now, they might get spooked out. Some people might have stop losses set down to where they bought it, anywhere from 160 to 170, and they might get stopped out. They might just sell and take a little bit of profit. The greed might get to them and they might just hold long, so it might recover and go back up. But again, I don't like this thing personally. I would look for weakness. As you can see, we saw the weakness with SpaceX today. It sold off from 213 down to 187. Pretty good drop. And this thing is volatile. So I gave you some stocks yesterday that are leveraged ETFs to trade both ways on SpaceX. So you could utilize those just if you want to flip some shares. The options are still pretty expensive, so it's kind of rough. But SpaceX as a stock itself, not too bad, If you short it, you can catch 5% in a day. That's really not too bad. And if it goes up and you put some money in some shares, I don't know. There were days where this thing was going up 10+%. So trade this thing at your own risk, honestly. It could go either way, and it could be volatile either way. We really haven't seen it get tested before today. So, it sold off pretty heavily today, but, nothing too crazy. It's not like it crashed 20, 30%. And if the market is bearish tomorrow, if this after hours pop doesn't follow through, SpaceX I think it's susceptible to a decent sell-off. If someone's gonna, want to take risk off the table, what's one of the riskiest things you can be in right now? One of them, in my opinion, is SpaceX. So if someone's gonna try to be in a safer position, they might take this speculative stock and just take it out of their portfolio. And on the other side of it, if the market starts to look good again and it looks like we're going up to new all-time highs and someone wants to put risk on the table, they might get SpaceX. So you can see it either way, just be careful. The last one I've got for you is Apple. It's in this perfect little channel here. Now, you might see technical analysis and call it stock market astrology, and I can't blame you because technical analysis works until it doesn't. But if it breaks through and gets another red day, breaks down and looks for these lows of 287.50, give or take, it could just shoot lower. Apple's up pretty high, and although it's Apple, I don't know, they're not really innovating. If people are going to look for names that are trying to get ahead of the curve with AI growth and, being innovative, Apple's not one of the names right now. If you've ever tried to use Genmoji and generate your own emoji, you know what I mean. It's horrible. That being said, it is Apple, and on some days where the market's red, Apple just stays green and gets scooped up as a safe play, because while they haven't innovated, they also have a ton of cash on hand, and their spending is not as crazy as other companies in the Mag 7, so again, you can see it both ways. That's what makes the stock market so crazy, because nothing is for certain. You cannot predict this stuff. You don't know how buyers and sellers are going to interpret things, so just be aware of both sides and kind of react to the move. Don't try to predict the move. So if Apple shows strength tomorrow, I'm totally wrong. You could take the long and it might work out, but we won't know till we get there. So I'm just trying to give you some ideas here. These are all stocks that are, they have good volume. You can trade shares, options, whatever you want. They all have leverage ETFs, all this stuff. These aren't just random plays. these are just stocks that you should get to know and just stay looking at, because they're just drivers of attention. So they're important to me. I think they should be important to you, so I'm just trying to put them on your radar. That's really all I have for today. I wish you luck tomorrow. We'll see how the market opens, see if it holds this gap, see if it doesn't. I have no idea. The market is crazier than it's ever been. This is just the whiplash is just wild. We can look for any type of bad Iran headline. We can look for follow through on no rate hike or no rate cuts coming in and rate hike fear. But then we could look for optimism about the Iran deal and kind of brush off the rate hike fear. We won't know till we get there, so just stay on your toes and just look out for either way. So, yeah, that's all I got for you. Thanks for watching. See you later.